דרך ארץ פלישתים, כי קרוב הוא, כי אמר אלוהים, פן ינחם הרעם בראותה מלחמה ושבו מצרימה. Okay. When Paro saw the nation, and when Paro sent out the nation, and Hashem didn't lead them in the regular way, rather he knew that they were going to have charata, they were going to have regret, and they were going to have to go back. Right? They were already missing a little bit of bitachon in Hashem. Right? So what I want to discuss tonight, and we're going to see this theme over and over again, is it's a very confusing subject. It's a very confusing subject, which I'm sure you guys always struggle with this. What's called bitachon? What's called having faith in Hashem that He's going to take care of us and do the right thing? What's called how much hishtadlut do you have to do? How much effort do you have to do? What's called emuna? Like all of these terms, let's try to understand them properly, because a lot of times a person he wants to know how much does he have to work really, Maybe he should just buy himself a lottery ticket. Ashmo, what do you do for a living? Construction. So maybe you should just sit at home and buy a lottery ticket and start going to construction. Why are you trying so hard? Huh? How much do you have to try? How much do you have to try is also the question. That's going to be all the questions. Oh! Look who's here.
I'm here. Morning and night. All right.
Morning and night. All the time. All the time here.
Soon I'm going to be...
It's Avrech Kollel over here, huh? Oren, do you know my two friends over here?
Yeah.
How do you know them?
Who?
This is Yaron.
Oh, how do I know him? Ask him how he knows me.
Oh no. They said they came because of you.
Yeah, I called him.
Yeah, okay, so listen to this. We're speaking about
coffee here or something?
Yeah, we have coffee. Lorraine, back to you.
This?
Yeah?
Okay. Thank you. Anybody wants? Rabbi?
I'm good.
Sure?
I'm good. There should be sugar there too.
Okay, thanks.
So the question is how much bitachon ishtadut does somebody have to do? Fine. So basically, they left and they went inside the sea, and the sea split, and they drowned. Az yashir Moshe. Okay. Now, I don't know if any of you got a bunch of emails today. Sigula leparnasa. You got it? You got it today? Sigula leparnasa. Today was a Sigula leparnasa to read Parashat Haman. Why? It's Chamishi, in Chamishi. I'm skipping all the way to Chamishi. So we said Az Yashir in this week's parasha. Ubru, Achapecha, etc. Until we get to Vatikach Miriam and Evia, and she also sang for the ladies. Fine. Bnei Israel, they got out. All the Mitzrim drowned. Paro escaped. They thought they're okay. Vayisu mi'ilim, vayavu kol ad bnei Yisrael min bar Sin. They came to Sin. Asher ben Elim ben Sinai, b'chamish asher yom chodesh letzidam eretz Yisrael. Vayalonu kol adat bnei Yisrael Moshe v'elanu b'midbar. They started complaining. Vayomru lehem bnei Yisrael, mi yiten motenu b'yad Hashem. Why did you bring us over here? Oh, they're not happy with what Hashem is giving them. Could you believe it, Oren? Jews complaining. Did you ever hear of such a thing? ואכלנו לחם לסובה כי הוצאתם אותנו אל המדבר הזה להעמיד את כל הזה ברעב. You sent us in order to kill us all in this desert. Oh,
I have a question, Rabbi.
Yes.
How happened in the tribe of Ephraim?
Yeah.
Rebel and left Egypt 33,000. So easy. Left Egypt and go in the desert and fighting with the Philistines and die, unfortunately, right?
Mm-hmm.
How happened they rebel so easy and the rest of the Jewish people have so hard to go out with how to go the Moshe Rabbeinu, so many makot, so many things to go out. And the tribe of Ephraim go so easy. Rebel go out. How happened that?
Why was it so easy for them to go out?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you're gonna see after this year, you're gonna understand a little bit more that sometimes Hashem makes it harder and sometimes easier for people. That's gonna be part of our shiur. So Hashem says, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give you lechem min hashamayim. Manna. You're not gonna have to work. ולקטו דבר יום יומו למד הנעשה ילך בתורתי אם לא, והיה ביום השישי, and והיה ביום השישי, on that day, every single Yom Shishi, you're going to get your man. What day are you not going to get your man? On Yom HaShabbat. Now, obviously, this was a big deal. Finally, they got their man, and they got it for 70 years. Now, listen to this. After the Parashat Man, we're just going through the whole parasha now.
70 years. 40 years.
Huh?
No, 70, 40 years.
40 years, I said 70. So then Bnei Yisrael went from Midbar Sin, and then they didn't have water to drink. Again, they're going to complain. Give us water so we could drink. So Moshe said, why do you have to bother? And the nation was thirsty for water. Why did you bring us to Mitzrayim? To kill us in the desert? So Moshe said, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're gonna kill me. So he says, you know what you should do? Take your stick and put it in the water, and it's going to sweeten the water. Very interesting. And he says, now, it also says in the Midrash, and then in this place, Moshe Rabbeinu taught Bnei Yisrael 3 laws. They taught them Shabbat, he taught them Milah, and he taught them Para Aduma. He taught them the laws of Para Aduma, of the gold, of the red calf. You know, for the Tahara. But why did he teach them about Shabbat? So I saw a beautiful explanation, and this is what's going to be the opening to our subject tonight. After he showed them that Parnasa could be sweet, because just like the water was bitter, they didn't have it, but you just put the stick inside and it becomes sweet. Then he said the biggest test that you're going to have is Shabbat. Because Shabbat, you think that you should be, you could gain a lot of money working on Shabbat. And still, if you don't work on Shabbat, you're going to see that that's going to be your source of Parnasa. Just like when the water is bitter and it's hard, it's able to be sweetened, don't worry about it. You don't work on Shabbat, and it's going to be hard, it's going to be against your nature, but it'll become sweetened. So a lot of time people always ask me, why can't they work on Shabbat? Hare, Shabbat is the source of Parnasa, and then for them for the whole week, they could make a lot of money. What we have to understand is, what does making a lot of money mean? And what does it mean? What does it mean making effort in making money as well? Right? Because whatever's supposed to come to you is supposed to come to you anyways. Right? Whatever's supposed to come to you is supposed to come to you. Yeah. Whatever's supposed to come to you is supposed to come to you anyways. So what? So how are we supposed to know how much bitachon and ishtadut you're supposed to do and how much not? So I want to introduce you to a very special sefer. This is the book called Michtav Meliyahu. Michtav Meliyahu was from Rabbi Dessler. You ever heard of Rabbi Dessler? Rabbi Dessler was one of the big thinkers. He lived in England for a while, and then he moved to Eretz Yisrael. Rav Dessler, in his Bitachon V'Ishtadlut, discusses these questions. He says, and we're gonna go to a couple of answers, a couple of approaches. But there's, Mr. Shaheen, how are you doing? You didn't make me the surprise of calling these people. We're discussing how much ishtadlut and how much bitachon does a person have to do.
I saw the email.
How much bitachon, how much ishtadlut does a person have to do? So, and we were just going through it in the parasha this week. So basically, there's a big machloket. There's also more water over there if you want. There's a big machloket. There's 2 approaches to bitachon ishtadlut we're going to learn tonight. There's the approach of Rav Dessler, and then there's the approach of the Chazon Ish. 2 separate approaches. Rav Dessler, we're going to start with Rav Dessler because that's more standard. And then we're going to go to the Chazon Ish, and then I want to discuss it with a couple of cases. Rav Dessler says like this: Kol כל הצורך להשתדלות בעניינים הגשמיים על פי מהלך הטבע בא מתולדות חטא אדם הראשון שנאמר בקללתו בזה אטפך תאכל לחם. The whole purpose of effort in worldly matters is only because Adam Arishon messed us up because of hishtadlut, because of zeat apecha tochal lechem. Really, the status quo of a person is that Hashem should take care of him for everything. And what's our proof? That before the chet of Adam Arishon, before Adam Arishon sinned, nobody had to work. Nobody had to work. Adam Rishon didn't have to work. Everything came to him. The bread grew on the tree as loaves of bread. Hello, Mr. Cohen. Hello, Mr. Cohen. We have a bracha of a Cohen over here. Yes. What do you say, Jack?
Did all the animals also, the whole world has to work for its food, right? The animals hunt for their food, whatever.
Right. It came easy to them also. It sounds like it. I don't have a proof to it, but it sounds like it. So the status quo of a person, he shouldn't have to work. Everything should come to him. What should he do all day? They didn't have the Toronto Maple Leafs around, so I guess he had to learn Torah. Is that so? Or no? Now, so says Rav Dessler, only because Adam Arishon sinned, a person had to start working. Which means, he draws a very important conclusion from here. That the whole reason why you have to work hishtadlut is not a mitzvah; it's a curse.
Right.
It's not a. To work for your bread is a curse. In other words, really, it should come on its own, and therefore, and this is his massive theory. He says like this, and it's known in the world as the Rav Dessler theory of Beitachon, and he says, therefore, he says. Habitachon, who in the other room they're learning Mesilat Yesharim now. Mesilat Yesharim was the classic work written by Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. He says, Habitachon hu yeshlich yavo al Hashem legamre. Bitachon means throwing your heap, throwing your package on Hashem totally. Basher yadea ki vadai yevshar shechzer adam mashikatzav lo. A person, it's not possible that Hashem is going to miss what a person is needs. Like it says, you shouldn't think that your friend might be taking away parnasa from you, because before Shana it was decided exactly how much you're going to get and how much you're going to get and how much you're going to. It was already decided, so you shouldn't think that this person is going to take away from your parnasa. It says it's a matter. It's a fact. So why do you have to do ishtadlut? He has to do ishtadlut in a way that he's paying off a debt. Now this is where the double-edged sword is going to be. And we're going to bring examples to this. Because how much are you supposed to do hishtadlut? In other words, how much of a go-getter are you supposed to be?
You also obligated
and how much
to your son to an occupation.
Yeah, better.
And what occupation?
Because he's got to do money. Because of that curse. Because it's a curse. Okay. And he has to do the curse. Okay. But why am I saying now it's a curse? We're going to see that it matters on how a person's perspective, what he should do and how much he should do. Now, what's the minimum ishtadlut? כך אמר רב זונדר מצלת. צריכים לעסוק השתדלות רק מפני שאין אנו ראויים ניסים גילויים. The reason why you have to work on השתדלות is because we're not worthy of having miracles done for us. This is earth-shattering. על כן מחייבים לעשות באופן אשר השפעה יורדת אלינו יהיה אפשר לתלותה בסיבה. Therefore, we have to do השתדלות so we could say this is where we got our money. And therefore, he says, if a person has tremendous bitachon, tremendous trust in Hashem, the hishtadlut doesn't have to be a lot. If a person is not strong in bitachon, then he has to do much more hishtadlut, because then Hashem is not going to bring it to him so easily. So it's relative. How much hishtadlut you do is dependent upon how much faith you really have. Besides one area. You know where the area is? Shiduchim. Shiduchim, in other words, we have a chatan over here in the house, Oren, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yaron's a chatan. He was telling me before that if a person knows that his zivug is
In my mind.
min Hashem. Yeah, you
Yeah.
found that this is zivug.
No, I gave him to finish my last bottle of wine.
Oh, it's because of that.
And he finished the whole thing. And I told him, this year you're going to get married in Sukkot. That was in Sukkot. So, he got it.
Are you paying him for this or not?
No.
Yeah.
With interest. It's not
With interest, it's not so simple. So the truth is, the Brisker Rav said that by shiduchim, hishtadlut is only to calm your nerves. Hishtadlut's going to come. The shidduch is going to come in Hashemayim whether you try, whether you don't try. Yeah, shidduch is going to come whether you try, whether you don't try. That's the only thing where it's me'alu me'ever. But everything else, if a person says, "Oh, I have bitachon in Hashem that He's going to send me my parnasa," and he doesn't have really bitachon, he's doing it because of laziness, Hashem's not going to send him the parnasa. So that's why we're in a very complicated case. What do you
You
say?
define hishtadlut as effort.
Yes, hishtadlut is effort, and bitachon.
The Brisker Rav says you don't even need hishtadlut,
Right?
but everyone else says you do by shidduchim. He's the
No,
dissenting opinion.
no.
So then you don't need hishtadlut.
You don't
In
need
an ideal
hishtadlut.
world,
This is just to calm our nerves.
The question is.
That's what he says. That's what he says.
The question is the same and about the Torah, because
No.
some people study very hard upon the Torah.
No, Torah.
And
You.
some people
What do you
like the
mean?
gift.
What do you mean that
You know?
if Hashem's going to send him wisdom, He's not going to send him wisdom if he doesn't learn? That's not hishtadlut or not. That's nothing to do with it, because that's about whether you want to acquire wisdom. So it's up to you how much wisdom you want to acquire. But parnasa is something that's supposed to come to you.
But
Parnasa is supposed to come to you. How much hishtadlut you have to do for it? It depends on how much you have faith in Hashem.
who builds the world? In other words, it's parnasa because there's people who build homes, and your pipes break, the plumber comes, and your leg breaks, you go to the doctor. I mean, saying like, if nobody's working, then who's building the world? Who's maintaining the world?
Okay, so let's learn a Gemara in Masechet Brachot together. Let's learn a Gemara in Masechet Brachot together. Let me get a Gemara in Masechet Brachot. I'm happy you brought this up. There was a machloket between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It says in the pasuk, "Ve'asafta diganecha." Asks,
לא הבאת הכל. טוב. לא צריך. לך מספיק.
the Gemara, "Ve'asafta diganecha." Efshar that a person's going to be in the Bet Midrash and pray all day, and what's going to be with this field? So therefore, Rabbi Yishmael says that a person has to learn and he has to work. Rabbi Akiva says no.
עיתים לתורה, עיתים ל...
Rabbi Yishmael, I'm sorry, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says no. A person is able to sit all day in the Bet Midrash, and the parnasa is going to come to him. There's a machloket. The Gemara says like this: Harbe asu ki Rabbi Yishmael. A lot of people did like Rabbi Yishmael. Ve'alta lem beyadam. They worked and they learned. And a few people did like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and they weren't successful. Says the Nefesh HaChaim. It's not that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is wrong. It depends on your level of emuna. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was saying, for the general public, you have to work, and then you have to pray also. But you can't only rely on prayer and service of Hashem. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is telling you, yeah, but there are those people that they have a high enough bitachon that they could rely on. So it's really a machloket between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And although we follow lehalacha Rabbi Yishmael, the Rambam also brings the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Why? Because for certain individuals, it's going to be relevant. It's not a contradiction.
How small of a percentage is that, though?
It's dependent on the
Do we
person.
even have anybody around in this generation that's like that?
I don't know. The truth is, it's a very high level. It's a level that, so they say a story about a certain tzaddik that he says, for me, my level of hishtadlut is buying a lottery ticket. That's my level. Because I know that Hashem's going to send me my parnasa anyway. I just have to be able to say, yeah, it came from a natural source. Can't be an open miracle. But if I buy a lottery ticket, then I'll say, oh, he got lucky. But that's that's the highest level, right? That's the highest level. We're at a level that if we do that, we're just faking ourselves, and really it's an excuse that we don't want to work. Right? Where was the time where it was really a big test? We're going to learn in Sefer Devarim, where Bnei Israel, they just finished conquering a couple of nations, and they're ready to go to Eretz Yisrael. So he says, Shlach lecha, he says, send for yourself spies. So Rashi says, Shlach lecha leda'atcha, do it according to your da'at. In other words, you don't really need to send spies. I told you the land is good. Your emuna should be enough for that. But since you're not so sure and you think that you have to go according to war, already then you're obligated to go according to hishtadlut, shlach lecha leda'atcha. So it's a double-edged sword. If you believe, Hashem will help you. But if you're missing that belief, then you have to do hishtadlut. You have to do that curse. Otherwise Hashem's not going to give it to you. Otherwise Hashem's not going to give it to you. And therefore he says like this, that bitachon is that Hashem will give you eventually what you want and what you're looking for, as long as you have enough emuna in Hashem. Like, how do we know that though? How do we know it's emuna? So he says, Omnam hamishkal kol kach dak ve'asakana nora'a. The judgment is so paper thin, razor thin. How am I going to know what I truly am I on that proper level?
When should I stop working?
Yeah.
That's what he's asking.
But a person, if he really wants to, he'll know what the truth is. He should look at it from a truthful standpoint. In other words, how could a person see the truth when he's biased, when he has a nigia? Whenever you're speaking to a person, I was just speaking to somebody now, they said, well, I'm looking at this child, they're going to need a long evaluation. Of course, because this person is going to be able to make a lot of money on this kid for a whole year if they need evaluation. A person, once he's involved in the parasha, once he has bias, he doesn't see things clearly. There's always going to be a person has his inclination. So to yourself, you're going to say, oh well, I want to have, I have enough bitachon, I don't have to work. Because you'd rather stay in bed and not work. You'd rather stay in bed and not work. There was one great Rav like this. He knew he had to visit someone. I told you the story. He knew he had to visit someone. Yeah? So what did he do? He wasn't sure whether it was the proper thing, whether he should visit him there, but he wasn't sure whether he should visit that person then and there. So what did he do? He got up from his bed, he got dressed, he walked to that person's house, he stood in front of the house and he said, okay, now I'm going to decide whether I should go to this person or not. You get it? When he's at home, in bed, he can't decide properly. He has to be in shul, he has to be in front of that person's house. Then he can decide whether it's the proper thing or not. So how are you going to know? So he says, he says, bias doesn't completely hide the truth. A person really knows what's the truth. You can't fool too many people. You can't fool yourself all the time. A person, even though he knows he has nikiyot, he knows toch tocho what's the truth or not. That's true, no? He knows the truth, what's the truth. And that's a chesed that Hashem did. He didn't give that the Yetzer Hara should completely hide the truth from a person. A person knows when he's wrong. He knows the truth deep down inside. Sometimes it only comes out b'rega he'emet. Sometimes it comes out when he feels that that he's close to Hashem and like he has nothing to lose from it anymore, admitting. There are going to be times where a person is going to recognize what's really the truth. But he just has to believe in himself. Let me ask you something. The Chazon Ish says like this. Okay. How is it possible that you have a Talmid Chacham, a tzaddik, a rabbi, nothing to eat at home? His wife, they were saving up for a month to have this chicken, okay? They could have a little bit of chicken in their chicken soup, okay? And he shechts the chicken, and he sees something he's not so sure. Is he allowed to decide on that chicken or not? He's a posek, he's a rav, he knows what's kosher, what's not kosher. Is he allowed to decide on that chicken or not?
Probably not because of his situation. That
Probably not because of the situation. The halacha is, of course, he's allowed.
He is allowed.
Of course. Also, a rav, let's say his wife, he has to see if the blood is a nida blood or not. He's allowed to check. There's bias. He wants his wife to be pure. He doesn't want his wife to be impure. He's allowed to decide. Ask the Chazon Ish why. Says the Chazon Ish something very, very important. This is one of the most famous Chazon Ish. Chazon Ish lived in Eretz Yisrael, in Bnei. He built the whole city of Bnei Brak. He'll build the whole city. When he came to Bnei Brak, it was a mountain.
How many years ago?
What?
How many years ago?
He came Bikuma Medina, right? And he died in the 60s. He was the Marad. He's the one who started the whole concept of keeping Shemitah. Before on, nobody used to keep Shemitah. He's the one who kept Shemitah. Oh, how are you doing?
Sorry.
You had a board meeting or something? COR again.
Huh?
COR. So listen to this. The Chazon Ish was the one who built. The Chazon Ish was the one who built the whole Eretz Yisrael, like the concept of Shemitah. He gave a lot of people that gibui of bitachon, which is actually a very important subject because this year is Shemitah in Israel, right? This year is Shemitah in Israel. So it's very good that we're speaking about bitachon. And Chazon Ish said like this. When a Rav, he has to decide on his own. He has bias. He says like this. Torah removes bias from a person. A Rav, a posek, is not going to be accused of having his own bias in something of Torah. Because Torah has the power that you should see the truth in everything. Why in the Parashat of the Torah it says that you give them a little bit bakshish that they could not see the judgment properly? He says that's only in monetary laws, that it's something like supernatural that we don't understand. That they give money, it's michukei Torah. But according to logic, the opposite is true. He makes us think exactly opposite to the Chazon Ish. He says, therefore, over here it says, Rav Dessler also, a person knows the truth when he's really being lazy or when he really is relying on Hashem. A person knows the truth when he's being lazy and when he relies on Hashem. And when he's relying on Hashem. And it's very important, he says, a person should know, because we're discussing how much does a person have to work, and the person has to do Ishtadlut. And first of all, we only discussed the opinion of Rav Dessler. I hope we're going to get to the Chazon Ish. But Rav Dessler says 5 ways that a person should increase his bitachon, practically. 4 ways? 5 ways. How does a person increase his bitachon? His trust in Hashem. The parnas is going difficult. He doesn't know how much more effort he should do, how much more hishtadlut, how much more effort or how much bitachon he should have in Hashem. He says, first of all, increase your level of trust in Hashem. How? Learn not to be, the number one, he says like this, learn not to want everything. Litlamed b'midat ha'istabkut. Ki kol asher yarbe b'istabkut b'muat, alot imed tzorech hishtadluto. The more you don't need, the more you're not going to have to do so much ishtadlut. Imagine, a person thinks he has to keep up a lifestyle of having 4 cars, 8 cruise boats, 10 vacations a year, the latest gadget that ever comes out. So he's always going to have to work very, very hard, and the more he works hard, the more he thinks it's only him, and he's putting Hashem more out of the picture. So number one, he says, before you start anything, learn histabkut, learn to cut back a little bit. I was just listening today, how we with our children, we have to make them appreciate and realize that money has to be earned. They ask for this. That doesn't necessarily mean they could get everything. It's good that the child hears, well, you know what? Daddy doesn't have money for that this week because we have a budget and this doesn't fit into our budget. The child feels every time, they get something, that, they want something, they could get it. So basically, they don't appreciate the midah of histabkut, of, you can't have everything. And it's dangerous because a person wants it. He wants it to, at the beginning, he plays with little marbles, and when he grows up, he plays with big marbles, and then he's small toys, he has the small cars, but when he grows up, he wants the big cars. And when he doesn't want the big cars, he wants the big boats, and then it just gets into, people that they've had always everything when they're young, so they're always looking for a new thrill and a new thing, and just as they're older, it's not that they grow out of it, they just get bigger toys. They used to have smaller toys, and now they have bigger toys. You know what I'm talking about. So he says the number one thing is cut out all the mutarot. That's the one thing he says. Number two, tefillah. There's nothing like tefillah to increase your relationship between you and Hashem and put trust in between you and Hashem. It's an amazing thing. I want to tell you, I might say this in the drasha today, but I had a neighbor on my street that died this week. His name was Mr. Haber. Mr. Haber's son is Dr. Alan Haber, he's a dentist. And his grandson is Tzvi Haber from the OU, COR.
Mr. Haber was at Mount Sinai for a long time, right?
I don't think so. He was living on Palm Drive, the second street off Bathurst, the second house off Bathurst. He survived Auschwitz. And it affected him mentally. Up to a point that right after the war, he knew Shas off by heart. He knew the whole Talmud off by heart. So the war, it affected him. He wasn't able to learn anything besides there's a set called the Sfat Emet. Sfat Emet was written by the Ger Rebbe, a very, very big thinker, the Sfat Emet. And it's a perush on the Torah. Do we have it here? I don't think we have it here. The Sfat Emet. And he would learn it. He knew all of the Sfat Emet by heart. My chavruta, Rabbi Basser over here, would tell me that every time he would speak to him, he would tell him a Sfat Emet. He would tell him a Sfat Emet. He would tell him a Sfat Emet. Everything in his mind was always Sfat Emet. Yeah? He died on Sunday. This Sunday. Sunday was the Hilulah of the Sfat Emet. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? It's like unbelievable.
Same Hilulah as...
Yeah, it was Baba Sali.
Baba
Sali. Yeah, I think so. If that was Sunday, unless it was Monday.
Baba Sali
was Sunday, so it could be it was Monday. No, it was Motzei Shabbat.
Sunday.
Dalit Shvat was Motzei Shabbat, I thought, no?
Yeah, Saturday night. No, because Rosh Chodesh was Wednesday. Okay, whatever.
Next.
What's amazing is that you see this hashgacha pratit, and when you sometimes see things that are so amazing, and you see in your own life that you ask for Hashem things and Hashem delivers. But you know what the problem is? We forget. So this is Lebhar's Eitzah that I got this from my Rabbi Orluik, who's going to be speaking on Sunday, February 8th in Magen David, 11 o'clock a.m. on the 10 Commandments of Parenting. One of the world experts on parenting. He's mamash, could see a kid, he could tell you, he could give the assessment right off the bat. He's really a very, very special person. He's going to speak in Magen David, 11 o'clock a.m. You don't want to miss, you and your wife. Now, he said the following Eitzah. He says, a person has to keep a notebook. About all the chesed that Hashem did for him. Just today, I was about to get into a crash. I'm sure this always happens to you guys sometimes. You remember you once told me the story when you were on the highway and you were about to you're about to, as you're putting something in GPS, you don't see that the other car is braking, you were about to smash into them, and you heard a beep from somewhere, from some car, that you didn't see that car ever again. Hashem sometimes sends you these things. Like today also, I was about to crash into something, and all of a sudden I said, I'm going to slow down. I stopped, and there was another car that came in the lane. With a bad accident. You have these situations that come up in your life that are uncanny, but you forget them. If you keep a little notebook, or nowadays keep a file in your phone, I don't care how you do it, and you remember all of the different things that Hashem did for you, that'll increase your trust in Hashem.
You have to have emuna to have that, because the rest of you can say it's coincidence.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
But you know what? Whoever came tonight to the MDM, obviously they're not holding there. Obviously they know that things don't happen just because of luck. And things happen because Hashem orchestrates it.
Right.
Hashem orchestrates it. So he says, you pray and you develop that connection to Hashem, and I added on, you should keep a notebook of whatever happens, and it'll increase your midat bitachon. I'm telling you, it's a very good itzah. I mean, there's so many things in my life that I can't remember anymore, and I wish I wrote them down. I started writing down. I had this, but I slack off. I slack off because if you have that, if you have it, your bitachon, that you remember what Hashem did for you every single time, you'd be amazing. You'd say, you know what? There's somebody running the show. It's not me only. It's not me only. Okay. Number 3, which is very similar to number 2. יתבונן תמיד ויחשוב עם נפשו מחשבות ביטחון בהשם וילמד בספרים בענייני ביטחון. He should always think about Hashem, and he should learn books about ביטחון. וגם בשעת עסקו בהשתדלות נחוצה לו יחשוב כי אינו אלא מקיים גזירת אפיך. He has to remember that whatever he does, he's only fulfilling בגזירת זיעת אפיך. Even if he's making millions of dollars, he always has to remember that it's Hashem doing it, and he's just fulfilling the curse of Bizat Apecha. I always remember that when I say this over, I remember this. Bizat Apecha is the curse that Adam Rishon got whenever he sinned. Hashem said, with the sweat of your brow, you are going to earn money. So the working is not a mitzvah. Work for a living is not a mitzvah, it's a curse. It's a curse. That's what's interesting. Parnasa. You're right, Parnasa. It's a curse. You have to do it. But you have to know that it's a curse. What's the nafkamina? What's the ramifications if you know if it's a curse or not? That if you think that you're going overboard, then maybe it's just your nerves doing it, not necessarily. Or a person is going to try all different types of non-kosher ways to make money. He should know it's coming from Hashem. He might get that money, but then it's going to go into his kid's braces or something else that he didn't need. So it's a curse, and it has to happen. But a person is going to try all different types of fangled ways. Okay, he's pushing Hashem out of the picture. He's only trying to do his only shtadlut. That's fine. You'll get whatever you're supposed to get anyways, you're going to get. But it's not going to be through bracha. My father's in the jewelry business. He once told me that he had such a story that somebody came to him, with a lot of jewelry for very cheap. Obviously, Borrowed. Permanently borrowed.
We assume, Rabbi. You have to assume.
Permanently borrowed.
We don't judge.
Didn't come to school.
Fell off the truck.
Right.
Permanently borrowed. Well, what happened was that eventually his, he obviously didn't touch the money. He didn't touch the things. He said, "Well, there's no bracha that's going to come out of this," and like he could have lost a lot of money there, but a person could have made, but then he could have eventually got himself in trouble, all those things. But at the end of the day, if you have a realization in your mind, there's no bracha in over there. It'll be much easier for you to overcome those challenges. So I would remember
Could that be a sign from Hashem though, that Hashem giving us cheaper prices for?
So let me tell you something. If something is not,
justifies it.
I'll tell you why. No, it's a good question. If something doesn't coincide with halacha, then it's not. It's just a sign from Hashem. It's a test.
Stolen.
How do you know it's stolen?
If someone comes to you and says, "I'm going to give you a 6-carat diamond for $50," you have to assume either it's a punch or it's stolen.
Why do you assume it's stolen? Why do you have to look at it negatively?
I learned something. If it's too good to be true,
You know, Shmuel, this is what we said at the beginning. A person has to look into his bottom. What does he really think?
Amen, right.
Like, let's say he was a police officer and he had to assess the situation. What would we have said then? You know, look at it from a different angle sometimes. Put yourself out of the picture, and that's what a person sometimes has to judge. Now, I remember this also always by Rav Moshe Reichman. Moshe Reichman was Paul Reichman when he was doing Canary Wharf. And he invested a lot of money in this project, and the banks pulled out on him. Okay, the banks didn't want to lend him the money at the end, and because of that, he basically declared bankruptcy.
it was because of Subway.
Because Thatcher promised him the subway, and she didn't deliver. And he was right about Canary Wharf. It succeeded at the end, but it was just because of that space. So. That time where it happened, where he saw that he was going to lose out the whole thing, was on a Friday, and he was, it was hard for him. He had plans to wipe out the collective debt of the whole Torah world. That was his plan, to wipe out the debt of the whole Can you imagine that with that money? And the whole thing crumbled. Okay, so I'm sure that he was going to have enough to live, and he wasn't going to go hungry, but very, very tough. So his friend, who they used to pray in the same shul together, maybe it's the boat shul, I don't know where they used to pray at that time. So he come on in, we're gonna pray everything in a few minutes. You and Shaul is there also?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll have minyan. So come on in, David. Listen to the story.
Well, we can hear from here.
Okay. So
Speakers are on.
So he opened up a Rabbeinu Bachaya. Rabbeinu Bachaya is one of the commentators on the Torah. He showed him how a person has to have bitachon, that all parnasa comes from Hashem in every situation. They told him, I think his name was Rav Shmuel. Rav Shmuel, this is what I have to work on now. This is the only thing this is what I have to work on. The person has to know, he has to work on bitachon and ishtad. You have to work on it. It's not something that's going to come on your own. You have to work on it. How do you work on it? He says, you should think about it, and you should learn books that deal with bitachon. You should learn books that deal with bitachon. Or come to the shir wherever I send a text that we're going to speak about that.
Tuesday.
Whatever the subject is, wherever you could find about it, bitachon is you have to put effort into it. It's not going to come on its own. He says that's number 3. Number 4.
But you can see it also.
Huh?
You can experience it.
Yeah. So that was number 2.
So
when you experience it,
that's it.
You write
It's
it
there.
down.
It's there. No, experience it hard, not just
Oh yeah.
experience it hard. Then you know it's there. Then you know
His sons would always say that was an amazing character trait that his father had. That no matter how much he was making, and he was making a lot of money at a point, he would always come and say, "It's not me, it's Hashem." Like a person who's making that money and he's the whiz behind it. It was a tremendous head he had. You'd think it's you, but the koach is whenever you're a whiz, you're still saying, "I did my ishtadlut." Right. It's coming from Hashem. Once a person is going to start putting himself in the picture, basically Hashem is going to say, "Okay, figure it out on your own. Goodbye." I'm like, "Figure it out. You want to do it on your own? Go ahead." Hashem will, there's no room. Hashem has no room for somebody who's an arrogant person, because the arrogant person takes up the whole room. It's me, I. So he fills up every space in the room. So Hashem says, "Okay, God, there's no room for me. Goodbye."
So why
Hashem exits the room.
So why does an arrogant person succeed?
Because sometimes Hashem is shining the light by him that it's going to diminish whatever he's going to get in the eventual world to come, or Hashem is giving him a challenge. Hashem is going to give him a challenge. But he's taking it from the wrong sources and from the wrong bank accounts. He's taking it from the wrong sources, from the wrong bank accounts. He's just doing it on his own without Hashem. Number 5, so that's number
4.
Number 4, we didn't say that. Number 4 is, whenever you do something, do it bitsniyut. Because bracha lies in tsniyut. And tsniyut helps also by hishtadlut. You shouldn't be rah about it. You should do it as in other words, that you're fulfilling your duty. You're showing that hishtadlut is fulfilling your duty. Then Hashem will say, he's really doing hishtadlut because of that. And number 5, make Torah the center of your life. In other words, You show to Hashem, yes, I have to work, but the Torah is the main part. I see people who make much money, but they are extremely successful in business. How do they do it? I don't know. I really don't know. I ask some people, I say, what's your line of business? I want to learn well, so I want to do because I see you're busy, you learn even more than me, I tell them.
Well, that's why real estate, for example, or
Yeah.
diamonds,
Yeah,
the deals that they do make, for example, you have a building,
yeah,
you collect rent once a month.
right,
That's your parnasa, so that you can study during the day.
right,
Or a diamond, give a diamond, you have $100,000 on one rock. You make your margin. You don't have to sell blouses, 10 that have retail stores and that. You make your deal right away. That's why the wholesale bit or the real estate business. A lot of these old Ashkenazi people in Toronto, that from down south. This guy has 10 buildings. This guy's got 20 buildings.
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
No, I was just not long ago. I saw the son of a Moshe Rechman. So he was in the Bet Midrash on Friday and learning everything. So I passed by him. I almost yelled at him. I said, "How do you run a business? You're here all day." I told him like that. How do you run a business? You're all.
It's already running for him.
But you know why? You know why? Because he makes Torah his priority, and if you make Torah your priority, your business will succeed also. But it matters how much bitachon you have. So you don't first not work and then you hope it comes. You first build your bitachon, and you work according to your bitachon. So let's just summarize. It's a double-edged sword. A person has to be able to say that on one hand he's not going to do his effort because he's being lazy. He's not doing his effort. A person has to do his maximum effort but when he's doing his maximum effort, he's doing it because he knows it's a curse upon him, and he's doing it because it's a matter of Hashem is eventually going to send him his parnasa. But it's not his ishtadlut that is bringing him the money. It's Hashem who's bringing him the money. When a person does that, more and more and more, he could cut down his ishtadlut. He's got to start with that, and more you're going to cut his ishtadlut. In other words, when he does his effort, it should be in a way that he's realizing that it's all coming from Hashem. Then he could start toning it down little by little. But he has to be very careful that he's not doing it because of laziness. And how does he know? Says Rav Dessler, only in his heart. Only his heart really knows what's the truth or not. All right, Hazaku Baruch Rabotai.
It's a contradiction of it.